I wasn't recording. I literally.
No, I'm recording it.
Well, hello. Oh,
Hello.
And welcome back.
hello. Yeah, I'm here. I was here. Are we here? No, we were here last week. I wasn't here in between last week and this week. But I'm here. Hello. Nevada is nice this time of year. It was 29 in my tent.
I mean, unless you're prepared to deal with it, right? Like snow camping is also a thing. People
Snow
like
camping
doing
is a
it.
thing. I got to figure out some sort of heater situation. I'm not entirely convinced that those propane in your tent heaters are safe. I get that they think that they're safe, but I don't know if you guys know. Recently, there was an air quality study done here in California by AQI. Not AQI. AQI is an air quality index. I don't remember the agency's name. And they published a report and it said, basically, you shouldn't be using gas burners anymore. The air around them is extremely toxic.
Like you shouldn't be using gas to cook ever, or
Yeah,
like
basically.
you shouldn't.
I don't.
I did hear about that.
Yeah, it says that the indoor air basically is heavily polluted by gas cooking. It's polluted by cooking in general. You know, when you start to smoke oil and stuff in a pan, that pollutes the air as well.
Right.
But yeah.
I guess it comes down to how do you measure pollution, and is that harmful, right? People have been cooking with gas for hundreds of years, and I don't know that that's been the reason their health has been bad necessarily, you know?
No, I think it's one
But
of those.
I guess, you know,
as we start to remove other toxins from the home, you know, what else is left to look at? We're not all breathing asbestos all the time anymore, so we got to look at other things.
I guess I gotta feel like your propane griddle for camping is probably not the problem here. And they're really
No.
more worried about like, hey, why does every single restaurant have a gigantic gas-fired stove in a tiny kitchen, you know?
Maybe, yeah. The things they have that I was thinking of was the little propane heaters, and I didn't know if I wanted to be stuck in a tent with a burning propane thing.
Yeah, see, I'd be leery about that. Anything that can catch my tent on fire.
They say
Yeah,
that
'cause-
they shut off if they detect a tilt, but like it's still hot, and your tent is made out of some form of plastic, basically. So
I would think I would only be okay with it if it was somehow able to be like suspended near the top of the tent in such that all the gas is now going up the vent at the top, you know? But like it's hot. You're now hanging it from something. That thing is also probably plastic. The tents aren't like particularly structural up there, you know?
Yeah.
I'm not exactly sure how any of that would work. So I don't know that I would be doing it either. I can't blame you.
Well, this isn't how I expected to start the podcast, but there you have it.
Here we are.
Yeah. Apropos of nothing, JJ, tell me about Mastodon. I don't know how it works. I can't figure it out.
I mean, it's like email basically.
How is Mastodon like email? I don't get it. Isn't it?
Yeah.
So you basically like you join Mastodon, then your tweets become emails or something like that.
No, the way it is like email in that it is federated, which is a like really complicated term meaning everyone runs their own servers and all the servers talk to each other.
Okay.
But you can like run your own server and not talk to anyone too. That's fine. If you don't want certain servers in there, you can just kick them out and say I won't accept traffic from them. And so which is also how email works, right? People can run their own email servers and
you
then
can just block a domain.
You can just block domains and you can just say, no, I won't accept any of this. And, or I refuse to, you know, do any sort of filtering. And then you just fill your inbox with spam constantly. So that leads to some weird things where like, then you have to, you know, and your address looks like an email address then, right? You have your like @ name at, and then after the second at is the server you're on.
Kind
And
of
so,
like old school WoW.
right, kind of, yeah. And that you have to follow someone on the server they're on, and then hopefully your server has links with that server so that you can get their stuff on your feed. And if they don't, or their stuff is disallowed for whatever reason, maybe the policies of your server or whatever, then you won't see them because they're not allowed, right?
Why wouldn't everyone have their own server?
Because setting up servers is a hassle. Why do you run your own email server?
Not exactly.
Yeah, so like, why would you do that for this, right?
Okay.
And there's like a billion servers with like, different policies and things that, you can join the main Mastodon one, mastodon.social, and they just have like, normal rules, and they kind of are connected to most things. And if you really want to join one about hiking, there's probably one about that. Or you want to, and then, like by default, if you aren't following anyone, you'll see more stuff from probably only stuff from within your server. So then, it's like about topics that I care about. And the people here are people that are probably interested in the same stuff as me, and yada, yada.
So it's like
It's new. I don't
I was going to make that same parallel. That's exactly what I thought of too.
It's also definitely like a lot more direct, right? You're not getting like, unless you're going and looking for it, you're not getting like random people promoted into your timeline. You're not getting ads. You're not getting like random stuff added there. If no one's talking, there's just nothing to see.
So it's like Discord and Reddit merged together.
Yeah, kind of. It has like a lot of like Twitter parallels too, but it is a different thing. Do I think it's going to catch on? I don't know. Maybe, maybe not. It doesn't seem like it has gained a ton of steam, and I will say it's definitely confusing to join, and it is a hassle. So I can,
Well, you're really selling it to me.
That's a big barrier right there. But once you're there, like, it seems to work just fine. If there's people you like like anything else, it's about who's there, right? And if you're interested in following those people that are there, you can.
Okay. Alrighty. That was just a side thought. I don't know why. Last week we did a real fun episode where we each brought 2 topics to the episode and passed the mic around and kind of, I don't know. It was more like a,
It was
talk
a
show
salon.
Salon. Good
It's like-
Lord, what a good a word. Yeah.
Quick topics.
Yes. Fun topics. Keen observers will note I said 2 each. Oh, we didn't do 2 each because we talk a lot. So I'm going to do my second one right now. This
Narrative
minute.
continuity. I like it.
So this is, we're now actually in the episode. JJ, at the end of last episode, you had the last topic that we were able to get to, and it was a good one. It was about game guides. And it was funny because that was the first time we talked about games the whole episode. If I had just led with this one instead, we would have talked about games twice in the episodes. I wanted to give you guys a brain exercise because something happened recently. Baseball ended this season. And part of that was the World Series, but the other part of that was the MVP in the American League, which many people thought should have been Shohei Ohtani. Instead, it was Aaron Judge from the Yankees. Baseball players are ranked by a lot of statistics, right?
It's very true.
A lot of statistics.
Could you argue too many statistics?
Yeah, I mean, they've started to try and whittle it down to WAR and slug, I think, or maybe OPS plus. I don't know which ones they think are the most important now. And
WAR definitely is out there, yeah.
And that's actually why we're talking about this question. Because I wanted to know if you were going to rank baseball players, how would you do it if you had to put them into an RPG instead of like a sports game? What stats would you use, right? Like the Meow DB, is that right, Michael?
Yeah.
They have the tiered Octopath characters, and in their tiers they have tons of stats: elemental DPS, physical DPS, defense, breaker ability, all that sort of stuff. And they come up with a number at the end of it: 8.3.1, 8.31, 8.42, 8. They take all the stats and they can crunch them into a single number. They put them in a stat line. But as we were discussing the other day, I have Tressa in my lineup, and Tressa is supposedly not very good overall. Though at this point in the game, any 5-star is good, and we're lucky to have them. But long term, right, she won't be good. But for our purposes, and for many purposes, she's great. She has a 3-hit spear. She has a wind attack. She can sidestep. She can tank. She can taunt. A lot of things would say she's actually probably a pretty good character. And yet, because of her really low damage and slowness, she's not even near the top tier. Ohtani, this past season, struck out a whole mess of people. He had, I believe, the most strikeouts and the most home runs by a player in a single season since Babe Ruth, and I think he beat them. Those statistics.
Important to note, those statistics are on opposite sides of where the stats are usually calculated, right? So it's like a batting statistic and a pitching statistic.
Right. In fact, if you look someone's statistics up, almost all of their statistics are offensive statistics, right? I looked up Ohtani's statistics on baseballreference.com. Everything here is an offensive statistic.
Because like that's the vast majority of players, right? Mm-hmm. Like most players aren't pitchers.
Right.
And
who are the exceptions?
Right. Most pitchers, you don't really care about their offensive statistics because, well, especially now, because a lot of them just don't bat anymore. Universal DH.
Where was that? Oh, pitching stats. Yeah, so the guy pitched 166 innings this year, right? Aaron Judge has no pitching stats to go off of. So, that's like when in Octopath, a character just doesn't have debuff stat, but another character might, right?
Yeah.
So if you had to think on how you would rank baseball players by stats, and how if you could get down to a single number that you thought was the most important number, even if it wasn't WAR, what would it be? See, we would have talked about games, kind of.
That's interesting because you really got to go into the philosophy of what makes a good RPG, right? Because really the thing that makes RPGs, I don't know, the thing about RPGs, right, is you start off at the bottom and your statistics grow throughout the game, right? So you eventually become, like all powerful by the end.
And I mean, statistics over the course of a baseball season change, right? And you might start off really good stats and lower, or really bad stats and raise, depending on, with 10 innings pitched versus 160 innings pitched.
Well, I'm just saying that you need to, if you're following that mold of trying to be like an RPG, you want to find statistics that can kind of like trend up, as opposed to stuff that would, fluctuate, right? That's not really how statistics work in an RPG typically.
Okay.
So like, I guess I don't know what you would use as the equivalent of experience in the game.
Yeah, that's hard. At bats, maybe.
Yeah.
Yeah, but do you need experience to rank a player? I mean, overall, so the stats when you rank a player, or I guess not a player, but when you rank a character, are based on their max stats, right? You never rank them along the way, really, because it's not fair,
Yeah, okay, that's true. So then it's just like, what would be the appropriate stats to rank the characters? And yeah, I mean, like, I think a lot of the advanced baseball statistics are trying to be that, right? Like WAR, OPS plus, those kinds of things are really trying to like get at the idea of like, how good is this person at being a hitter generally?
Mm-hmm.
The problem is a lot of those statistics then don't account for the reverse side of like, can this guy actually like get someone out? Or
Yeah, how well do you defend your position?
are they standing in right field like catching pop flies?
I mean, there are stats for fielding, right? Fielding stats, errors per season. I mean, it's hard. It's hard when like Aaron Judge was a DH. He never saw the field, so he has literally no. I guess no, that's not true. He played some games in right field, probably. I know he played outfield. So
yeah, they stick the best hitters in the outfield typically.
Yeah, but like a third of his games he played at DH, right? So his stats are skewed in that sense. I'm ballparking. Obviously, I don't know every stat about everything. It was just an interesting thought that I had pop into my head because I was like, if these people that know about baseball better than me are ranking these players together, and one pitches and the other is just an outfielder, not just, but is an outfielder, how do you come up with a stat that puts them together? WAR, I can just give you an average here. So Aaron Judge's WAR is a 10.6 and Ohtani's WAR is a 9.6. But look at what teams they're on, right? Do you weight what teams they're on? Like, does Aaron Judge's 10.6 get a multiplier because he's on the Yankees, or does Ohtani's get a higher grade because he's on the Angels?
It feels like something you should factor in.
Yeah, right. Because they have to sort of be a product of the game they're playing. But I think like the unfortunate truth here is that the MVP award is not something awarded in a vacuum to the actual best player.
Oh, it often goes to a player who makes the postseason, right?
That's every sport, though, right?
Right. It's every
award in every sport.
And, people that make a big, splashy, record-breaking thing are the ones who get noticed for these sorts of things.
Sure.
And Judge had a, all-time year in terms of home runs, breaking a very important milestone. And therefore, people were like, he was almost guaranteed to win, right?
Yeah.
And is that fair? Certainly arguments, can be made by, folks of all stripes there. But in terms of just, on the face of it, like, what do you do? I don't know. It's really tough, especially because, again, like players like Ohtani are so unusual. There just aren't players that do that.
Yeah. I mean, you could put Judge up against a Mike Trout and it's really easy, right? They're both outfielders. They both have games where they play at DH and don't play in the outfield. They both have.
Or, a guy like Juan Soto,
Sure.
or, other insert guy who crushes home runs frequently and doesn't play, a lot of other positions. Yeah. Every team I feel has close to one of these type of people.
Yeah. I think my issue with trying to pin down a stat is that there's not a single stat that takes into account the whole package of a player, because there doesn't really need to be, right? Not for baseball, the way that it's tracked. You don't need to say, well, my catcher bats 50 points below a potential other catcher that I could bring in, but he can gun anyone down trying to steal a base and block the plate like nobody's business, right? There's no stat that takes all of that into account and gives them a ranking.
Yeah, I mean, WAR is supposed to do that. In terms of combining offensive and defensive statistics, so you'd find a way to incorporate a catcher's throw out rate or whatever. But I don't feel like in general, maybe I'm just not making my point entirely clear. I don't feel like in general, when you're ranking characters in an RPG, things are weighted so much differently than just diluting every number on every stat, offensive and defensive side of the ball, down to one thing. A lot of times it really just comes down to, well, Fiora's up there because she's just so good at damage that you can't ignore her, right? Like,
I mean, the important thing though, is the RPG game, like especially the one you're talking about, doesn't have a lot of ways for you to interact with the system other than to hit the guy for a lot of damage.
Yeah. And so
Right.
Aaron Judge gets MVP because his one stat sticks out: 62 home runs. Right? Boom, right. MVP. Top tier character.
And in the RPG, like Octopath, like you're talking about, the character that does the most damage is similarly going to get that top ranking because that's the verb that you get in this game, right? Like hitting people.
So instead of us trying to come up with the stat and debate it for a while, what stat, if you were going to rank a character in our baseball RPG, would you weight on putting the character in your your 10-man, 9-man party, whatever? I don't know how many pitchers we need to keep in our party.
Well, it depends what the game is, right? Like, that's why I'm saying it matters. Like, are you making a game where you're playing as the batter trying to hit the ball? Mm-hmm. Then I want the dude that hits home runs, right? Are you making a game where the fielding is the game? Or is this like
a pitcher who throws 12 strikeouts a game?
Exactly. Or is this MLB The Show and you're playing all the sides? Well, then you need to have a mix of people. And you can't really say one thing is the best thing, right? Like the game you're playing has an effect on the statistic that matters here. Like in Octopath, the verb is hit the people. And so the debuffers and the people that do the damage are the ones that are important. Conversely, in your baseball game, like, what is the game? If it's a fun batting game, then like I want the dude who hits the ball the hardest.
To counter, you have characters that do things on both sides, even in a game where the verb is hit. Viola, we're using we're using Octopath because we're playing it a lot. Gets a lot of value for being a massive debuffer. Kurtz is in my party a lot of times because he has anti-attack on the other team, right? That's like defense. And yes, is one of the best characters that I have now because of her massive healing ability. That's defense. I have defense and offense in my crew, right? And like, just because you have Fior, if they're not weak to sword, aka they put in the left-hander against your right-hander, then Fior is not that good. So you have to build an entire baseball team, offense and defense.
You're making a salient argument against the tier ranking. Right? Like, I agree with you. And if you just fill your party with all the characters that are top tier, I think you'll probably have a really bad party and not be able to do a lot of things. I mean, you'll probably like face roll through some things because your characters are just so good. But once you get to the hard stuff, it won't work anymore, right? Because you don't have the healer, you don't have the debuffer, you don't have the regen, you don't have the whatever the thing you need to get through the challenge.
Yeah, especially this game where as you go further, more and more specialized parties are needed.
So right? Is baseball already an RPG then?
The job towers.
Oh,
I mean, people play. Oh, good.
Oh, I cut him off before he got to say something about the job towers.
I was just going to say, once it like that intensifies even more once they introduce the job towers, and you have to have full parties of
you have to one of everything, right?
Yeah.
Well, that is.
I mean, you asked if baseball is already an RPG.
I did. Yeah.
I mean, people play fantasy baseball, right? That's basically what you're asking for.
Should I play fantasy baseball?
No. I don't think that's a good idea at all. Did you enjoy keeping up with fantasy football?
Nope.
Do you think that you would want to do that, but on a way, 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 way more complicated scale and for a lot longer?
No.
I think you just answered your own question there. Also, isn't Blaseball coming back soon?
Supposedly, man.
I can't tell. They told me in an email to sign in and download the app thing, and then nothing seems to really be happening.
What they have is called Fall Ball, and all the players are like once a week, it seems ish. The players are being spat out of a black hole, one to each team.
Okay.
And so rosters are being built. That's all that's happening.
Do we have teams?
No, I mean, the same teams are there.
Oh, okay. I didn't know if teams were not the same anymore.
Unclear. I mean, Blaseball. Who knows? But there are every fall, right? They say is the name for it, and 24 players come out, so you get one for each team. Or that's how it has been thus far.
Yeah.
Who knows how any of this will actually work or what will happen?
They're only doing one of these a week too, right?
Yeah, it's one player a week. That's like a lot of time before they actually get full enough teams to play.
Why is
I think
that?
there's only been 3 or 4. I don't know, dude. Ask the devs. What are they doing?
I don't know, but like, I don't want to say it's a good way to kill interest in your game, because they obviously have interest in their game, but they went from being a thing that everyone was checking in on all the time, including us. And now it's just like, even if you're into it a little bit, not a lot of it, the people that are into it a lot of it are doing stuff on Discord that I know nothing about. And I don't want to demean their side thing where they're doing lots of story stuff and all that and having a good time with the ARG or whatever it is. But for casuals like myself that just wanted to do the game part of the game, it's kind of like, when am I going to remember this?
So they have said at least some stuff publicly that the reason they took such a long time off is they were really burning out after the amount of work they had to do to make the current one and keep up with the crazy evolution. And they were hoping to sort of restart and develop it in a way that doesn't alienate people by it getting so insanely complicated so fast.
It did. It really did.
And so they wanted to start over with something that's like more simple and sustainable for them in a way that they could keep it going all the time without having to murder themselves like they sort of were to keep the pace that they had been going on.
This seems wise.
So that sort of was their the thing that they had said publicly. I don't know really what has happened since then. They have said that they want to be able to allow players and teams to communicate with each other through the app and not have to join Discords and other things like that. Which is great, right? Allow people, for voting and things like that, allow people to coordinate within the thing rather than having to create, external spaces where you have to find out here's what you should vote for these various things. If you know a guy and person X does Z and no, keep that in their thing. That's a smart idea. But other than that, I have no idea, they're, I think they're out there talking about stuff, but they haven't really, there isn't really any game being played yet, so there's sort of no way to know.
Okay. Well, there's your Blaseball update sometime.
Yeah. Maybe they wait for opening day now at this point, right? I mean,
yeah. Yeah. Maybe. Oh, you think with actual baseball, they just sort of drag this on till then? That'd be interesting.
I mean, how many players are on a regular baseball roster, and if you get one a week, it's going to take a few months to get there, right?
Yep. True.
When does baseball actually start? Spring?
Yeah, buddy. It does start.
It might be a while. Okay.
Hard to keep up with it all.
Dude, it's impossible. And I'm starting to have trouble keeping up with Octopath Champions of the Continent. Are you guys keeping up? I'm way behind you now.
I mean, are you though? Because there's only a couple story chapters in terms of that you're behind us.
Yeah, I just mean the amount of... Oh, man. I didn't mean to be yawning in the middle of my sentence. I just mean the amount of time invested stuff seems like I have now... Maybe you guys have sacred weapons and they're all upgraded, and Michael's about to turn Elvis into a 5-star. I haven't finished any of the new story chapter. I just think this is not a complaint. It's just getting to be a lot of stuff going on in that game. like that you can do overall?
I think it's, it's a matter of where you're investing your time, right? I've invested my time on pushing through all the story stuff and upgrading my weapons and stuff. But I know for a fact you guys have been running manual hunts. I haven't been doing that. I know you guys have done a bunch of the Traveler stories. I haven't done any of that stuff.
Oh, okay.
My Elvis is not even close to being a 5-star. I'm not even actively trying to do that. That's not something I'm going to spend any time working on, probably. So it's just a matter of where you're investing the time. If, you just spend your time running those story chapters, you'll get it done in a week, if you're playing every day. Like, I think that wouldn't be that hard.
Yeah.
Well, where are you guys at? I'm just curious. I've been gone. I haven't played. Have you all beaten the new cups? Have you beaten the level 80 hard person in the other world hunt area? I'm just curious how if you're still liking the game. I didn't expect to still like the game, honestly, this long, considering it was a gacha, and yet it's so forgiving, and you don't need to chase anything ever to play the game.
Yeah.
So
and like
it's just
doing the
an RPG.
dailies doesn't matter,
Yeah.
I think that's just a sign of a well-balanced game.
In a game that doesn't care about having the best and the most and the, getting every dollar out of you for every single thing, right?
Yeah.
Because like I haven't beaten any of the cups. I have done the preliminaries for several of them because it's a great source of a whole bunch of rubies. Andrew, if you're worried about not having enough rubies for stuff, my guy, those prelims are easy.
I mean, other than the 200 we're spending a week basically to just do the 200 a week, I'm sitting at about 3,800 rubies after having pulled really hard, but not all the way super hard into sparking. You know what I mean? And yes, because I needed some sort of healing. I didn't have the best healer I had was Menno. Not terrible, but like not good.
Yeah,
Not a great option either. Yeah.
I have done a lot of that stuff, but I haven't actually beaten any of those cups. I have a lot of the high-end weapons now because there's nothing to farming those sacred weapons is really easy now. You just go to one place, you farm the monsters there until you feel like you're good. You do all the elites in this one dungeon. That's it. That's the only place you need to go. You don't have to do anything else.
Sacred is much easier than the previous 3 in terms of just ease of farming.
Go to that dungeon, kill all the elites in there every day, farm as many of the regular enemies for the other materials as you feel like doing, go upgrade your stuff, and then eventually when you want to do the final upgrade level, you need a battle-tested weapon. So go do those fights when you need that battle-tested weapon, which, maybe do those fights anyway because the battle-tested weapon is better than all the levels of the sacred up until the last one.
Really?
Oh, yeah. Dude, Andy, the battle-tested weapons are level 60. They are crazy strong. They're better than everything that isn't level 4.
Yes.
Oh.
Especially in the arena where you don't get grade bonuses.
Yeah. Like, if you start getting those BT weapons, your power jumps dramatically. They're going to be like 50, 60, 100 points stronger than the next best thing.
Because all the other things other than sacred end at what, 3, I think?
All of them have 4s, right? But all the 4s require a battle-tested weapon.
Stamp sword goes to 3.
Yeah.
Gotcha. Maybe they make a stamp 4 that requires a battle-tested weapon in the future. I don't know.
Does innocent upgrade?
Yes.
Okay.
Huh. And tyrannical and what's the other one? Fenrir, yeah.
Michael, where are you at?
So I beat the Tikilan Cup, and I have done all but the Cup champions for Glossum and Varkin. And I feel like in both cases, I'm just a little bit lacking in one particular type of DPS to be able to put a solid team together. So like for Glossum, I don't have enough dark DPS. to really feel like I can make a go of it. And maybe that's not true. Maybe if I actually tried to craft a team, I could make some pretty good progress. But that's just kind of what it feels like. But other than that, I'm just kind of in a little bit of maintenance mode, doing the daily stuff, and then farming up some sacred weapons. Kind of unsure if I'll keep doing that for the next couple of days, since the next weapon tier comes out on Wednesday.
It does not.
It does.
No.
There is some debate. There is some debate over whether or not it will drop with all 4 levels unlocked, though.
What? Why are they dropping another weapon tier right away? It's been a week.
Yeah, so I've seen some speculation on that too, that a lot of times Square Enix, when they have a game that is that has a version in Japan and then a different version for global, they like to keep them about 6 months apart. Like, that's the cadence difference they like to have, and that they are trying to catch us up to that point where we're only consistently 6 months behind Japan.
Put the 6 month stuff in, like the team snapshots, or the NPC that gives me all the stuff in Nameless Town.
Are they adding another chapter to the story then, Michael? Because where are you going to get the new weapons?
Yes, they're adding a new chapter to the story, so we get a new city. We get the next upgrade for Nameless Town, the alpaca farm. I think those were the 2 big things, and then the next tier of weapons comes with the new city.
What is the next tier?
So it would be 64, I guess.
Yes, Twilight, I think, is the next tier. I think that's what it's called.
So farming sacreds is even out for me at this point. I should just go get those BTs and wait another 3 months and see what's going on.
Well, I'll go ahead and say the way the upgrade system works, the BTs never go out of style, man. So you're never hurting yourself. You might as well start farming those BTs now.
I want to say that after it's 2 sets of 3 for the first rounds of upgradable weapons. I want to say after that 6th one drops, there's a different kind of upgrading. So you don't need BTs anymore beyond that.
You don't need BTs beyond Sacred, then, is what you're saying?
No, they're beyond not. So Twilight, and we'll get 1 more. And those 2 plus Sacred will be the second set of 3. And that very last one, I think, is the last one that requires BT to upgrade to its max level.
Oh.
Also, Andrew, you've noticed as playing this game, as you go on sort of there's always more, right? And getting the very top level of power is just an incremental increase from the next very top level of power.
I do like that it's not massive jumps.
So if you have a bunch of Sacred 4s, like maybe Michael and I do, are we going to rush and go upgrade all of those immediately to whatever the new one is for? No, probably. Now, if you're stuck in the arena and you absolutely need 10 more attack or whatever, maybe that's a good reason to have one of the Fenrir or the Tyrannical or the Innocent weapons, right? Because they have slightly different stats, and those few points of stats may make the difference there.
Mm-hmm.
But, generally, is that difference going to be the end of your team? Or probably not, right? Like, 5 levels is going to be more damage than any of that other stuff.
Gotcha. Okay, well, since you guys are so good at giving me advice, I need another piece of input, maybe. Should I uninstall Forza?
Have you reached your? So you set an end goal line for yourself. Have you reached it?
I kind of, yeah. Yeah. Let's say 90%. There's one achievement that I wanted to do that I don't seem to see how it unlocks. And so I've been just sort of playing to see if it would unlock randomly. I haven't looked it up, to be fair, but I also didn't seem like I would need to. So I'm kind of at the point that like I sit down at the computer and I think about playing something other than Octopath for a little bit. And because Forza is such a good forever game, they are adding to it literally all the time still. I mean, they add new story chapters. It feels like every time I get on the computer and look at them. So to prevent myself from playing it, should I just uninstall it? What is the thing that you do when you're like, I need to be done playing this and I want to play something else? What's the inertia?
If I don't need the space, I won't necessarily uninstall it. I'll just move on to the next thing and start playing that.
Yeah, I think the answer is you play something else. But if you want to uninstall it and you can't help yourself, you're unable to stop yourself from opening Forza all the time. Yeah, I mean, uninstalling will help you with that.
Also, these days it's not like you lose anything to uninstall. You just you're clearing the space. All your files will get saved.
That's true. It is all stored in the cloud these days, isn't it?
Yeah.
Depends on the service you're using. Folks, be careful with that. But yes, typically, I imagine the Game Pass stuff for sure is.
Yeah, it is. Which has caused. I think I talked about Spiritfarer. It causes a problem with Spiritfarer because you can't save scum the Spiritfarer game, right? It's stored in the cloud, so the minute it saves over,
you could still save some games like that. You just have to try harder.
Get good.
I know from experience.
I'm not good enough, I gotta say.
You can save scum games that save like constantly and save to the cloud. I've done it with Dark Souls games and stuff. You can do it. It's just annoying.
I do have free advice, by the way. I've talked about Forza enough. If people are playing it, here's some free advice. It is paramount that you not spend all your points on the same car. Really, the only value in spending your upgrade points in the cars is to get wheel spins. And the wheel spins are more available on legendary cars. So spend your points on legendary cars is what I'm saying. Okay.
Good advice.
Let's close it out with some TV stuff because I want to hear your opinions. We haven't talked about it in person. We only posted it and lamented it a little bit in the group chat. The Witcher is having a new season, and then they're having another new season they've already booked for. So the upcoming season is season 3, and then there's a season 4 where they're going to change actors.
Man, what a tragic story this is.
DC ruins everything again.
Do you think, is there any chance it was planned and that they're doing some sort of time jump and they're changing actors?
1,000% no. Yeah. Like this is.
I wanted to give it the benefit of the doubt.
They drove up to Henry Cavill's house with a truck of money, and we're like, Superman though? And he was like, I guess I'll take this dump truck of money. And then they're like, well, what about the Witcher thing you're doing? He's like, dump truck of money. And they're like, yeah, we get it. And so here you are.
Yeah.
Like, right? What else could it possibly be?
Yeah, there's no way, as popular as the show was and as popular as he was in that role, that there was planned obsolescence built into it.
And like, I want to say, like, he himself has said how much he loved playing that character. He's like an actual fan of that source material and has like talked reverently about it and like how much he loved being able to do this and bring that character to life. And like, he took the role seriously and all this stuff. But at some point, the dump truck of money gets big enough,
Mm-hmm.
It's a bummer, man. I think it's Hemsworth. It's Liam Hemsworth, right? That's taking over.
Important to say Liam, not Chris Hemsworth, right?
Yeah, Liam Hemsworth's taking over, who also has said that he's a fan of The Witcher. So maybe. But it'll be weird if he's going to play him exactly the same way as Henry Cavill did. It'll just seem like a knockoff Henry Cavill kind of situation.
Right. And like those guys are both like big, manly looking dudes, but they're not the same kind of body shape and look. Right. So
Yeah.
it'd be interesting to see what they do.
Speaking of Netflix, I watched the Cyberpunk Edgerunners show.
Oh, I've heard things. I have not tuned in yet.
I think that maybe I missed out by not playing Cyberpunk a little bit. There's some like revelations of characters being in there. I'm like, who's this and why do I care? He seems cool. This is a cool looking guy. His character model is awesome. Is he in the game? I don't know. It's a cool vibe. That universe they created. If Cyberpunk the game is like that, I think I might need to play it now that it's all fixed up and everything, because it was fun. It was a nice system. It's animated in Japan. It's actual anime, and it's the first. I wanted to talk about it for a second because the Japanese voice actors are no joke. I think it's Aoi Yuki who's in Octopath, and Ken from Yu-Gi-Oh fame is in there, and a whole bunch of other big name Japanese voice actors are in there. It's anime. And yet I couldn't tell which language I wanted to watch it in. I listened to it both ways, multiple times, multiple episodes. I couldn't decide which one was better. There's something about the cyberpunk aesthetic that I was wondering, which language would you listen to it in?
Is the actual answer to listen to it in Chinese? I feel like that's what a lot of cyberpunk ends up picking as their language that wins out. You know, it's like everyone is, because I'm watching a movie, they're speaking English, but because it's dubbed into my language or whatever, but like they speak Chinese to each other in universe or whatever. I feel like that is how that goes, or at least it does in Blade Runner a little bit, right?
Yeah. Right. I mean, in Blade Runner, I think is it Chinese?
Or do they just have a bunch of Chinese words that are woven into their language there?
I remember
Well, think of like Firefly.
I mean, a lot of Firefly, but it's more space. I'm trying to think of, Yeah, I think you end up with a lot of it. It's trying to think of like other space stuff. They use Chinese a little bit. I don't know. It's a good question. I don't know if the Chinese would sound if it's Chinese sounds good or bad, because I don't have any inkling of what Chinese is supposed to sound like. Right? Like I know good Japanese voice acting when I hear it because I've listened to a lot of it. I don't know. I think the aesthetic is maybe what threw it off the most, because it's anime. But what did we listen to? I listened to, what was that show? Oh my gosh. Symphony of the Night.
The
Castlevania series
Netflix
was
show.
anime, and
Yeah.
I listened to all that in English because the English voice actors were so high profile. Well, anyway, it was a good show and something to think about if you're going to take it on. I would listen to both to see which one you like more.
Okay.
Especially there's I think it's a 6-month time jump sometime in the middle of the series. It's not a huge spoiler to say this, but some of the characters change quite a bit in the time jump, and they sound different in English and in Japanese, and that is a big problem in terms of deciding.
Okay.
But if you're into anime, and that's pretty good. It's pretty good. We didn't get to emulators today. You want to do that next time? Should we put a pin in it?
Sure.
Let's do it.
It's a big topic, I feel.
So to close out the day, then, JJ, Daniel Rick should never race again in F1.
Ooh, harsh take. Are you just mad that your boy Kevin was on pole and got hosed?
He
On the
got
first lap.
tagged on lap 1 of pole by Ricardo.
I mean, he wasn't on. The problem is that there was a sprint race, right? And so he was on pole, and then he lost 8 places in the sprint and was now next to Daniel Ricciardo instead of being on pole.
Look, dude, that car can only lose places from the front, okay?
I'm just saying, if the sprint race hadn't happened, then he would have been starting on the pole, and he would have just lost those 8 places naturally during the race, and Ricciardo wouldn't have hit him.
Magnussen had pole, and Ricardo crashed him out of the He could have finished in the points, JJ.
I mean, he was starting 8th. Yeah. I mean, he could have. You never know.
Yeah.
To be clear, right? He got pole under very weird circumstances.
Yeah.
They got lucky and timed their run right before the rain hit.
Yeah.
The rain hits, and all of a sudden, everyone's times are garbo immediately, right?
Michael, I know you hear us talk about F1 a lot, and sometimes we don't talk about F1 for weeks. And it's because it's a weird sport where things are expected to happen, right? Verstappen is supposed to be at the front. Mercedes is supposed to be at the front. These races tend to finish roughly the same. Once you see the team strategies, you kind of know where the races are going.
Right.
There's no huge surprises most of the time. And then we usually talk about F1 when there's rain. And sure enough, there was rain. And sometimes you just know when to do what. And they did. They sent that guy out, and they're like, this better be the fastest lap of your life, because if you don't finish in time, it's going to be pouring rain on you while you're on slick tires.
Yeah, it's like, get out right now. Gun in the hardest lap you can possibly do. The rain is coming. And sure enough,
they did it.
Put the pedal down to the floor.
Yep. And so this is how a semi-last-ish place team ends up with a
back
pole
of the
position.
midfield at most generous.
Yeah. Last-ish place team gets a pole position and then finds it squandered by Danny Rick. What a tragedy that guy's story has been in the last 2 years. And it just is spiraling around the drain as teams think about picking him up. He crashes out another car.
The latest scuttlebutt I heard about Danny Rick is he might be signing a reserve driver role for Red Bull this coming season.
Yeah. Not even test driver.
No.
Ouch.
Well, a reserve driver is better than a test driver, right? Because the reserve driver is there every weekend.
I guess.
The test drivers stay at the factory. They don't come out.
Yeah, but at least the test driver gets to drive the car.
Yeah, there's that. A little more F1 news while we're here. Your boy Mick Schumacher pour one out.
Yeah, back to F2, huh?
Sounds like he's done. Sounds like it is all but a done deal that Nico Hülkenberg will be replacing him next year. Supposedly going to be announced later this week.
I'm not super happy about that, personally.
Yeah, I've never been a big fan of Hülkenberg. He always seemed like immensely okay at best.
Yeah. It's interesting that they're like, we got to find another German. Nico Hülkenberg. He's out there.
Yeah. I don't know why people have kept going to him. I guess they're just like, well, I guess he doesn't crash. We can say that.
You know,
It's like
if
a low
the
bar.
car finishes the race, there's a chance, right? I guess
It's true. If it doesn't finish, you're not getting anything. That is a fact.
And it'd be hard to do worse than Schumacher's been doing.
Yeah. Yeah.
You could count on one hand the drivers that have done worse.
Yeah, he and Joe, I think, both have gotten some like incredibly rotten luck this year. Tough.
It's really tough. I mean, you really want to see the guy succeed. Right? I mean, an F3 champion, an F2 champion, son of a 5-time world champion. You 7-time. Sorry, I don't know why I said
7-time.
5-time.
Yeah, 7-time.
7-time world champion. You just want to see the guy succeed. I don't know if he would have been put in a better car if he would have succeeded. You know.
Mm-hmm.
Bummer. Well, let's not end on a down note.
You want to talk about spicy drama?
Yeah, spicy drama, not downers. Let's do it.
Max Verstappen proving that he's still a jerk even after he's already won the world championship. His teammate Checo Perez is fighting for second place, and they give team orders to have Max pass Checo so that he can go past some people. He's been faster all race, right?
Yep.
And they're like, Max, go past some of these people up here to take points away from them so that Checo can, gain points, by proxy, right?
Sure.
The people are his competition. Checo is second right now, very close tied to someone from Ferrari. If he goes and passes these other people, they lose points. Checo then gains by, omission or whatever. And then they say, and if it doesn't work out at the end, we'll have you swap back, right? The end comes. They're like, all right, Max, we need you to slow down here and let Checo pass you so he can get the points. Max comes over the radio, is like, I told you never to ask me that. I can't believe you would do this to me. No. And then doesn't and just steams through to the end. Wow. Nothing to play for. The guy is already the world champion. And he's just like, no, I won't help my teammate.
Yep. I mean, he is the best driver out there.
And, and of course, Perez is like, oh, well, this really shows what kind of guy he is, and then there's all this stuff in the social media about like, oh, this is Max getting revenge for Checo crashing out during Monaco and like all this stuff that's like, are these people holding grudges like that? That's wild.
I wish that people didn't behave the way they behave, and yet they do. I would look. We have like 2 minutes to say this, right? They're all kind of like that. It's not like Lewis Hamilton hasn't done the same exact thing.
Mm-hmm.
You don't get to be number one driver in Formula One and have no ego. But also, if I was Max Verstappen, I wouldn't think that Checo might not accidentally bump into me next time he needs to pass.
Exactly. It's like, oh, okay, is this how it is? You need help from your teammates sometimes, Max. You think he's going to be really working to help you out next time? Doubtful, right? But it's like, oh, Checo, we need you to hold someone up for Max. And he's like,
no,
I tried.
Oh, dang, okay. He went to the left.
Oh, past me.
Yep.
Yeah. Karma,
Yeah, but no. You know what I mean? The teams want to win too much for there to be that much karma. They push this stuff to the side, and then they get rid of the number twos when it boils over. Same thing happened to Bottas.
Yeah, not wrong.
Just is what it is with this type of stuff. You can't expect them all to be good people. I really think, I think they are good people off the track, I guess. But the egos on the track are just too big.
Well, if you, fine listener, do not have too big of an ego, where could you send emails to?
They can send them to podcast@weweregamers.com. We'd love to hear your humble brags. Or just brags, whatever you want to send us.
All the brags, humble and not humble. You send them all.
Yeah. You can also find us at Facebook, Twitter, Instagram. We Were Gamers at all those places. If JJ's feeling ambitious, we'll be on Mastodon.
Remains to be seen.
And go check out our YouTube.
Oh, yeah. We do the YouTube, don't we? Hey, final announcement, youtube.com/ At We Were
Yeah.
Gamers. Okay,
Just
Michael,
splice
you,
that in.
you said it. You said
And
it. Yeah.
JJ just sent it too. YouTube.com/@WeWereGamers.